online with me, I got Dave Altman, man, who I got to know him, quite a few years ago, and Dave Altman introduced me to David O'Leary, who's the producer of Project Blue Book on the History Channel, and David also introduced me to the to one of the guys that were on that military ship, that Navy ship that was tracking down the Tic Tac, the UFO things. And, the USS. So David is, and we had dinner with David Altman here and David O'Leary and talked with that, and so David here is in the know and knows everybody and knows a lot of things of what's going on with the UFO world and a bunch of other things. He's got a lot of great contacts in the movie industry and in all the kinds of things. But David was just on a show with Captain Kirk,
William Shatner.
William Shatner. On a show. Tell me about this show, David. What happened? What you guys found out? And because it's one heck of a documentary on what's really going on in the UFO world, and it's kind of piqued my interest. Man, fill me in.
So our documentary is called A Tear in the Sky. It's actually out on Amazon right now. Amazon, iTunes, Apple TV. The movie, what we did is we formed a group of quote-unquote citizen scientists, and the team included me, a couple of members of the USS Nimitz, not members, but some Navy veterans that were on board the Nimitz in Princeton, which had the famous Tic Tac UFO encounter that came out in the New York Times in 2017. So it was a group of researchers, scientists, astrophysicists, and Navy veterans, and we went back out to the Catalina Island area, which is where the Nimitz encounter happened, and we filmed it, and we made it into a documentary. And it stars, us, William Shatner, Michio Kaku, Travis Taylor from Skinwalker Ranch. Travis is in it. Skinwalker Ranch, someplace I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's out now. It's doing very well. It's been in the top 10 documentaries. Right now it's number 2 on iTunes. And Joe Rogan just did an episode with Michio and promoted the film yesterday. And the clip that's out on YouTube where he talks about the movie, it's got almost 3 million views.
Really?
In 2 days.
Wow,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So I know you was talking to me about the Catalina Island thing before. Can you talk about this, or is this something that you can't talk about right now of that's been going on out there at the Catalina Island? This off the coast of California.
Catalina Island is a very strange place. Back in the 40s, during World War II, it was actually the training ground for the OSS, which was the precursor to the CIA. So the government's had a lot of interest in that area for a long time, whether it be for seclusion reasons or for, reasons involving the phenomenon. There's a lot of weird stuff that happens out there, UFO sightings. There's giant skeletons been found on the island, buried all over the island. That was my main go-to when I was during my free time, was asking the locals about the giants and about the skeletons being found and all that stuff. But I did a lot of research on the area. I met the editor of the Catalina Island newspaper, and he sent me a book that he actually wrote. His name's Jim Watson, and it's called Mysterious Catalina Island. And it has all the weird stuff that's been going on there since people can remember. He sent me a newspaper article from July 8th or July 7th, 1947, and it is 2 veteran airmen spot and photographed 3 flying discs.
Really?
So, yeah. So through him, I met a lot of fishing captains, people that own charter companies for boats, whale watchers, talked to all those captains, and every one of them had a story of something being seen out there.
So you're kind of guy, when you hear a story like this, man, you follow up, and you're not bashful about following up. You contact whoever you got to contact to get to the bottom of what's going on, and that's kind of how you've got in the middle of all this.
Well, yeah, so when I originally joined the group, it wasn't about filming anything. I just wanted to do it. And, lucky enough, we were able to get the opportunity to make a documentary. It was almost a TV series, but because of COVID, that shut that down. So during the time of when I joined up until we were able to do the expedition, all I did was research on the area because, it was during, lockdown, and all we could do was sit at home, and I just researched the area for like 2 years, and I found out a lot of good stuff for the movie. And then I also did 2 episodes of Expedition X on the Discovery Channel with Josh Gates on the Catalina Island specials that they had.
So for those that don't know about the Nimitz thing, because I didn't, I'm a treasure hunter, I'm not a UFO guy, and it wasn't until you introduced me to that guy that was tracking them, the military guy, the Navy guy who was tracking them, Kevin, that was his name. Yeah, so tell us, for those that don't know, what happened, what went on there, what did Kevin track?
So Kevin was a radar operator, and he was on the USS Princeton, and they were doing training exercises out towards Guadalupe, Catalina Island area back in 2004, when Kevin picked up objects on his radar that shouldn't have been there. So when he saw them on his radar, and I'm no technician, I'm no Navy guy, I'm kind of doing this in layman's terms, the way I can explain it. So he sees these objects on radar, and then the pilots end up getting a visual on them. So there was kind of a hide and go seek kind of game. They weren't carrying weapons because it was a training exercise. Thank God, they didn't fire on these things. Who knows what would have happened? Yeah. But from the visual that they got, it was a 50-foot flying Tic Tac, is how they explained it, and. This isn't the first time something that looks like that's been reported. The Tic Tac sightings have been going on since the beginning of, people started seeing these UFOs.
Had Kevin seen anything like this before, or is this the first time? Was the military?
No, it was the first time.
Did the military, was they aware of this before, or until Kevin recorded it?
Came out, so from what came out later, after the New York Times and the story came out, and they released the 3 videos, which were the Tic Tac, the gimbal, and the Go Fast, which was recorded. There was another incident on the East Coast involving the USS Roosevelt, and they saw a strange object. And I think the object was described as a cube within a sphere, however that looks. But they were seeing these objects out there for 2 weeks before the encounter happened. So they were well aware that these things were out there, but yet they continued to do the exercises anyway. And then also, after the major sighting happened with the pilots, a couple of guys showed up on a helicopter and took all the data off of the ship.
Really?
All the logs, everything. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. So, how was it working with Captain Kirk? And what did he think in the beginning? Did he think this was just kind of hogwash, and what happened in the end? And just kind of, how was that?
So in the film, I didn't interact with him at all, but I am friends with him. I've known him for many years.
You're friends with a lot of those different people. A lot of guys you're friends with.
Yeah, so it's just a coincidence that he ended up in the movie, and I actually know the guy. He was very surprised. He was very enthusiastic. He had just gone to space right after we filmed this. He had come back. He was the oldest person up in space, comes back, and he's doing a UFO documentary.
Yeah.
So he was very excited by what we found. I wanted to tell you something that I recently saw.
Okay, hit it.
Okay, so I watch a lot of true crime stuff, mysterious disappearances, and I recently watched the disappearance of this guy, and it was like in the past couple of years, he was working with his uncle doing like air conditioning mechanic work. And on the way back, they stopped at a rest area, which was right at the Superstition Mountains.
Uh-huh.
And the kid told his uncle, "Hey, I'll be right back." And he's never been seen from again.
Really?
Yeah. And I think it was like 5 years ago, 25-year-old kid. They've been searching ever since. No body, no clothing, nothing. They think he might have fallen down a mine shaft. So like I was curious, like, how often do you hear stories about people, going out that way or looking for stuff and just disappearing?
So out there in the Superstition Mountains, I'm not that familiar with it because I'm not out there a lot, but I know quite a few people out there that have, and there's been a lot of people disappear, ended up dead. They've said that some of these people that have ended up dead, they say that it's mysteriously, that they don't they're not buying the official word on how they died, and they think, that there's some strange mystical bad power or element that's guarding the mountain or doing something. Is that true? Right. I don't know. Salvador Delgadillo says that there's the black Nephilim Giants out there. The fire, the black fire. It's not like red and orange and that and yellow. They're black, and they have little things that look like fire rays coming off them, and they're giants, and they're kind of ghostly like things, and anyway, so I don't know, but just as a whole, you hear that 411 thing where people go out into the forests and end up disappearing, and who knows what happens to them. Did Bigfoot get them? Did aliens get them? Did they get eaten by mountain lions? Did who knows? Did they just get lost and died, and the scavenger animals ripped their bodies? You'd still think they'd find the skeletons or bones or something, and then they don't. They just kind of disappear. So who knows?
Yeah, even David Pilates, the author of the 411 stuff, like he doesn't even give an opinion. You know what I mean? Like, he just presents the cases. But a lot of people think, like, that personally he thinks it is something like paranormal or cryptid or something like that, just some really weird stuff, man. Like, so to me, it's like, it's crazy to do that stuff, man.
Yeah.
like, why would you go out there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So you just don't expect that to happen, and I guess until it happens to your family, a family member or somebody, a relative, you don't really hear about that stuff and know about it. But I want to say, David, that you're a well-rounded and well-connected guy. You know a lot about a lot of different things, and kind of your love's the UFO things. But man, you've delved into all kinds of things and know all kinds of people that deal with it. The Bigfoot, the UFO, the giants, some treasure something, and like I said, you're well connected and know a lot about a lot of different things.
Yeah, it's just, I'm fortunate enough to, be able to work with the things that, I love researching. You know what I mean? I think if my life would be complete would be if all of a sudden I started working in somehow with Star Wars, like all my favorite things, I got involved, pretty early. When my parents got divorced, I was about 7 or 8, and my mom and I went to live with my grandmother. And my grandmother at the time was the local librarian. So after school, every day I'd go to the library and hang out with my grandmother, and I would sit in the section of mysterious everything. All the Bigfoot stuff, the UFO stuff, all the monster stuff, all the Dracula, Frankenstein, read all those books. And then I graduated to the more known actual mysteries instead of the fictional ones. So yeah. I've just always been into it. I can't explain why, and I never intended to do this kind of work, but it just kind of happened.
Well, and you took it farther than that. I mean, you took it to you had a curious mind. You wanted to know, and so you contacted those people that was involved with that.
That's how I met you.
That's how you met me. You contacted me. You wanted to know something, and you contacted me, and I'm glad you did, because you're a valuable guy to know. So.
Yes, I feel the same way, man. Terry and I talk all the time, like, hey, I just heard this, what do you know about this? Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then we have a mutual friend, Brandon Fugel, as well.
Yep.
Who you knew a long time before me, and I like the story of how when we went to that event and we ran into George Knapp.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, I'm friends with he who shall not be named." And I was like, "What?" And it was before Brandon had come out.
Yeah, you didn't know who owned Skinwalker Ranch at that time, and I wasn't telling, because Brandon told me, man, don't tell anybody. He didn't want to be known, And I think the reason why, I don't know. I haven't asked him, but I know that he was telling me when he bought that property. I asked him, man, why did you buy that, and how did you buy that? And he went through the big story, and I'm not going to tell that because it's his story to tell.
Right.
But one story he told me was that there was somebody he knew who was a CEO of a company. He started the company, and he came out to the public and told them that he'd been abducted or seen UFOs, and he was going to spend his millions of dollars trying to get to the bottom of who these UFO people were, who these aliens were. And when he came out to the public like that, his board of directors, his stockholders, man, they kicked him out of his own company.
I believe it.
Yeah. And so back then, you didn't mention things like this. What's going? I guess that was the same thing with airline pilots. If they seen a UFO, they didn't mention it because they kind of got
fishermen. With fishermen captains, it's the same thing.
The same thing. They didn't. Because they was going to get ostracized. Nobody was going to believe him. They was going to lose, and that's what happened to this guy who owned, had stockholders, and they kicked him out of his own company because he came public and said he was going to spend a lot of money to figure out who these aliens were. And in the back of my mind, when Brandon told me that, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, that's probably why he doesn't want people to know that he owns Skinwalker Ranch. Because he's worried about that because he knew this guy personally.
Right.
And
it makes sense.
And so I'm thinking that's why. And so how the History Channel talked him into doing a show about that, is beyond me. Yeah. But things have changed now. People are more open. They're not ready to throw somebody under the bus that says, "Hey, man, I seen a UFO," or "I was,"
Right. Yeah. The government now, they're kind of asking people to come forward, but it's kind of odd because they're really only asking and talking to military people. They don't care about anybody, any public pilots. They're not looking to talk to anybody like that. It's all the military encounters, which is kind of odd.
Huh.
Yeah, and they're also not talking about any cases before 2004. So, it's like they forgot about the past 70 years of UFO sightings and all this crazy stuff, 70 years, and they're talking like it's a brand new thing,
So I got to ask you, Dave, have you had a UFO encounter?
Well, yeah, on Catalina Island, filming the movie, I saw an object with my own eyes. I filmed it through night vision. I don't know what it was. I know what it wasn't. I know it wasn't a satellite, wasn't a drone, wasn't a plane, wasn't a helicopter, wasn't a bird. I was looking straight at it, and I couldn't see it. Or no, the first one I saw. Then the second one, I couldn't see. It was in front of me, and I couldn't see it with the naked eye. I put the night vision up, and it's right there. So I don't know what that was.
So for people to see this, man, they got to go get this video, this documentary you guys did, and see that. They'll see what you're talking about. And how do they?
We captured a lot of strange things, a lot of anomalies. You just have to see it for yourself. I'm not saying we caught aliens, but we caught some very odd things.
So how does people get to see that? How do you say on
they can
iTunes
they can go to atearinthesky.com. Or it's on Amazon. Just search A Tear in the Sky. And just go to documentaries. It's number 2 on iTunes. It's all over all the video on demand services.
Cool. Anything else you want to tell me, Dave?
No, I'm just waiting for you to call me and tell me, hey, I just found this mine. Grab your shovel and come meet me.
I did that show for the History Channel for Beyond Oak Island on the Lost Josephine mine. We're waiting for the snow to melt so we can get back up there, to try and find this wooden door and see what's behind this wooden door. The documentation says there should be $1 billion worth of gold in there.
Oh.
We'll wait and see.
Awesome. Looking forward to that.
Well, with that, Dave, man, I appreciate you talking to me, and that's a wrap.